I've been thinking a lot lately about the relationship between human action and God. Human beings tend to do some pretty nonsensical things, all in the name of God. I mean, there's instances where rape is encouraged. There's instances where loving the person that you love is considered an abomination. There's instances where we're encouraged to kill others, and some would even argue that there's instances where we're encouraged to kill ourselves, all in the name of God. But whether or not God exists is irrelevant to me. What I'm curious to understand is this God worthy of our worship? Is this entity that we have come to imagine and attempt to understand worthy of the things we do in His name? So, worth. If there was a God that was worthy of our worship, He would have three things, right? He'd be omnibenevolent, all good, so good and pure that human beings couldn't even fathom how good He is. He'd be omniscient, all-seeing, all-knowing, everything that happens in the world He would know about. And He'd be omnipotent, all-powerful and able to control and change anything that He wants to control. But there's a lot of evil in this world. There's a lot of pain and suffering. People are homeless, they're starving, they're deprived of basic human rights. So why doesn't God stop this? Well, if He really wants to stop it, but won't, well then He's not really omnibenevolent, is He? If He doesn't know that the evil is happening, well then He's not really omniscient. And if He does know about it and really wants to do something about it, but can't, well then He's not omnipotent. The argument some folks would give me is based on free will. We have free will. God cannot infringe on our free will. Free will is ours and ours to keep. To that I will tell you that free will is a completely different argument in and of itself. But for the sake of this video, okay, fine, free will exists. Well, even if free will did exist, there's still so much evil in the world that could be prevented, like hurricanes, tornadoes, tsunamis, earthquakes, all types of natural disasters and sicknesses. What about, children, innocent children who are born with cancer and diseases? Like, God can easily prevent that, but He doesn't. Well, the argument some people would give me to that is that, this is all part of God's plan. There is a lot of pain and suffering in this world, but pain and suffering brings about learning and growth and opportunities, and we just don't understand the short picture. We can't even, comprehend that all of this is for the greater good of humanity and for us. To that, I will say two things. The first is, to quote Dostoevsky, anyone who can appease a man's conscience can take his freedom away from him. And like Ivan Karamazov in The Grand Inquisitor, I would rather see evil and acknowledge it and accept it for what it is than to say that it's for the greater good, to say that this is all part of God's plan and that's why it's okay. The second thing is that every human being has their own unique conception of God's will and God's plan. So I don't know about you guys, but that raises a red flag to me. And regardless of how God comes to play in your life, regardless of how you see God, I still don't understand how this thing is worthy of our worship. I still don't understand how it's okay for us to infringe on other people's rights, to put people down, and to even kill some people, all in the name of God. Well, people make a conscious decision to act this way, and although they cite God as the catalyst for their actions, they're merely using His conception as a means to fulfill their own ends. I mean, their own actions are a projection of their own issues, their own mental grievances. I mean, maybe some people really do like to put others down because they think that it puts them up. Maybe they really do think it's okay to kill other people because they're different than you. But every book of faith, every organized religion is interpreted differently by each and every human being. Every being has their own unique conception of God, and therefore the actions that we make aren't about God, they're about us. The conclusion that we have reached is our own, and it is your own conscious decision-making and sometimes psychosis that determines your actions. So although we like to use God as a projection of our own values and issues, if He is not worthy of our worship, why do we do these things to each other? It's because of us.